Well, with famine imminent in the Gaza Strip, the United Nations says it has enough food to feed the population there, either at or near its borders. But getting aid into the besieged territory continues to prove extremely difficult.
In theory, food and medical aid can get into Gaza via land, air and sea. For now, ships unload at Port Said in Egypt and freight trucks take it to the Gazan border. Many countries are airdropping aid despite the deaths of people hit by packages or who drowned trying to get to aid that fell in the Mediterranean. In an attempt to speed up deliveries, the U.S. plans to build a floating platform off the Gaza coast. It's unclear exactly where it will be. It's the same design as this one built in the United Arab Emirates. Experts say it will still not be enough. Overland routes are the most efficient way to bring food in, but inspections make it a lengthy process. Aid trucks are inspected by Egyptians in El Arish. They are then inspected by Israelis at the Kerem Shalom or Nitzana crossings, and only then head to the Rafah crossing, where they are often delayed again. After coming under pressure from the United States, Israel said it would allow its port of Ashdod to be used temporarily to bring in aid and open the Erez border crossing into the north of Gaza. The Erez crossing was breached by Hamas militants in the October 7th terror attacks, which led to Israel's military operation in Gaza. Previously, the Erez crossing was limited to people on foot and was not built for truck traffic. That means its opening is unlikely to drastically change the flow of supplies into Gaza.
Jamie McGoldrick is the UN aid coordinator for the occupied Palestinian territory. Welcome to DW News. Apart from the Erez crossing, Israel's defense minister has announced the opening of another crossing closer to the coast near Sikkim and reckons that Israel will flood Gaza with aid. What do you make of that?
Well, I think we welcome any opportunity to get more aid in. We need 500 trucks a day, and we're probably getting at the moment about 200 to 250. And as you mentioned, there's famine in the north that's imminent, and in other parts as well, really deep insecurity food-wise. So if we get as many roads open and as many land routes, as well as this proposed sea route, then it'll all help. But right now, the humanitarian community has only got the one opening, which is the Kerem Shalom Rafah.
You were in Gaza just this week. What did you see?
Well, I've seen it. I go in every week, and every time you go in there, it's no different. It just gets more and more depressing. People are worried very much now because of the actual impact of a possible Rafah incursion. And at the same time, they're dealing with a day-to-day living there, which is really drastic. People living in really squalid conditions, very, very hot temperatures now. The water and sanitation issues are problematic. The health services don't work, and we are struggling to get enough food supplies in. So there's so many areas of people's daily life which they're suffering with.
You say it's getting worse and worse from trip to trip, but do you sense any hope with the situation changing, at least internationally, with more pressure coming from Israel's biggest allies, especially the US, when it comes to continuing this war?
Well, we've been asking Israel for a long time now to have more supply routes and more possibility of delivering aid inside. And they're now starting to listen to us. And as you saw last week, they made announcements of all of these things like the Ashdod port, more openings in the north, a corridor coming from Jordan into it, as well as this sea route and the 3 roads inside to allow delivery of assistance inside and especially the north part of Gaza. So these are the things. So there is hope in the sense that that's starting to move. We see more trucks come in yesterday and the day before than ever before. And I think that's part and parcel of what we're looking for from the Israeli authorities to allow us a much more permissive approach to delivering more and more aid into different parts of Gaza, because there's 2.2 million people there who are dependent on humanitarian assistance, and there's only 250 trucks that are coming in. So that doesn't make enough up there, because there's usually 500 trucks a day. So there's a massive gap which has been in place for over 6 months.
Of course, another challenge is once you get that aid in there, those trucks are being ransacked, in some cases by people out of pure desperation, criminal gangs. How do you deal with that?
Well, I think there's two ways to do it, and one was mentioned: the fact that you flood the place with enough aid so everybody gets enough, and then you demonetize the problem so that it's not a value product. Everybody has something, and the desperation goes. And I think the other one is then to have the former blue policemen who were there before, who are no longer able to do the sort of the security, crowd control, and the guarantees they used to give us because they've been targeted by Israel.
So Israel holding back deliveries is creating this desperation. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think that we've asked for these more openings. It's now starting to happen. So hopefully the announcements will actually turn into actual operations and implementation. Right now, they're just announcements. There's no extra trucks have come in through Ashdod or through the north part of Gaza. We're dealing only basically with one road at the moment that's delivering assistance, and it's clearly not enough. And the roads we're using, two of them are really badly damaged. The one on the coast road, the Al Rashid, and the one in the middle, Sakhradin Road, both of them have been churned up through military activity and other hostilities. We have to grade those again for them to be used. And the only really operational one is the military road on the outside, which only allows, we've only had 8 convoys over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So the supplies to the north in particular are very limited.
Jamie, what about the airdrops? Are they making a difference?
Well, anything makes a difference if it comes in, but I mean, I think that it's very, very costly to have airdrops. It's about 300 times more per ton by air than it is by road. And there's no guarantee who ends up having those, who reaches them. You've seen many people dying in the water or getting hit by the things that are falling. And it doesn't go to the ones who are probably most needy. It goes to the ones who are strongest, who's able to run and catch these and carry these back. And I don't know that what type of food they drop, but I'm not sure it's the food that people are looking for.
So it's not just creating a state of desperation, but also one of survival of the fittest by the sounds of it. You've dealt with many humanitarian crises in your time. How would you say this one compares?
I think that this one is different because people can't leave. You know, they're trapped in this space, Gaza, and they're piled into what's in Rafah right now, which was a town of 250,000 before the war. It's now over 1 million. And the conditions there are quite squalid and they're overcrowded, and people have really facing, things like diseases that emerge, hepatitis A, the diarrheal diseases, all these things have happened. The services that are there are broken. The health services, only 10 out of the 36 hospitals barely function. There's no electricity. And water supply situations is really, really serious. It's very rare you get a crisis that's being created to this depth and magnitude in a short period of time, affecting the whole population in an area. That's not normal in a crisis, and this is something that's been done through it's man-made.
Jamie McCordrick there, UN aid coordinator for the occupied Palestinian territory. Thank you very much for joining us from Jerusalem.
Thank you.